What is it with Jagex and merchants? For as long as the game has been around, there has been merchanting, but over the past years there have hardly been any updates to support this huge aspect of the game. This lack of updates is ultimately what led us to creating merch. We feel like merchanting is an amazing and unique part of the game that you don't see like this in any other games. If you know what you're doing, it can give you a lot of insights for investing that you can even use outside of the game as well. So why are there rarely any updates for merchants, and what could Jagex do for us? Hey guys, it's Divine from Merch.com. Let's start off by taking a look at what Jagex has done for merchants since the game has existed. In the beginning, nothing at all really. There were only measures to prevent scamming. And this made sense as the game was growing rapidly and needed a lot of content. That was a priority. It wasn't until the Grand Exchange was released in 2007 that Jagex did something for merchants. It was the best update in the history of the game to me, and the one thing that has kept me around for the past years. Now RuneScape has plenty of smart players though. They began to exploit this wonderful system for their own gain. Merchanting clans would buy items out and get casual players frustrated as they couldn't buy the items they needed due to Jagex's 5% price change restrictions. There was also a lot of scamming involved, as people that set up clans pre-bought the item and then dumped them as soon as they announced it to the public, or they even used bots to advertise it to get even more reach. And I think all of this trouble, this bad reputation that it got, is ultimately where Jagex stopped supporting merchants. The only thing we saw happening in the merchanting space in the following years was Jagex making it harder for clans and individuals to manipulate items, like decreasing buy limits for 4 hours, which happened on quite a few occasions, or in some cases even manually forcing the MetGE price of an item down, even though it was still bought out in a Grand Exchange and it was still rising, like they did with prayer potions for example. In 2008 they released spirit shards through summoning, which suddenly allowed players to store a lot more wealth in a stable item that could fairly easily be exchanged. It wasn't intended for this though, as spirit shards are obviously for summoning, but to this date, 8 years later, there is still no official alternative that allows players to store their wealth. In old school RuneScape we saw the release of platinum tokens for this. For some unknown reason, RS3 never got something similar. In 2011, free trade returned, though this wasn't an update for merchants. It did make things a lot easier, especially in the beginning when your limit per 4 hours was reset after selling your item back to the Grand Exchange. This allowed you to keep flipping great items, but was removed later on. Ironically, items had huge margins back then despite the fact that you could consistently flip them without taking any breaks. Now this was before thousands of guides taught everyone to cut the prices of others instead of using the same ones, so back then the margins were a lot bigger, there was simply less competition. Now in 2014, Jagex added the Grand Exchange to the companion app. They needed a killer feature that would keep people returning to the app, as using it just to chat wasn't really popular. This made it very easy for merchants to update their offers anywhere and was probably the second best update we've gotten. In 2015 there was massive support in old school RuneScape to add 2 more Grand Exchange slots and to increase the Grand Exchange history. RS3 had no choice but to follow, but could have done this throughout all the years it was suggested in the past. And this is really what we've seen so far. To me it seems like very little, and there are many things they could do to make things easier. You may argue that Jagex should not do anything for merchants, but it is a huge part of the game, whether you like it or not. Here are my 7 suggestions of things that Jagex should do for merchants. Number 1. Adding item volumes to RS3 graphs for all items. Old school has it for a year now and it hasn't hurted its economy in any way. Jagex literally already has this information and the system is ready for it, as is apparent from graphs they posted on the RuneScape Reddit, like this one for the suitcase upon its release. Number 2. Adding the limit per 4 hours to items in the Grand Exchange interface. It's been almost 9 years since the Grand Exchange was released, and there is no reason whatsoever why this information shouldn't be up there. Number 3. Adding limit timers. These would allow you to see when you'll be off your limit for a certain item, so when you can buy it again. It's not a big deal to develop this as the timer is already running in the background anyways. Number 4. Increasing the Grand Exchange graph history. A lot of people would love to see how items moved in price over the years. Ever since the Grand Exchange has been around, this history only goes back 6 months. Jagex stores the data anyway, so there is no reason why people shouldn't be able to see this. Number 5. Increasing the Grand Exchange trade history. I don't know what Jagex does with the old data, I fear that they get rid of it, but I know a lot of people that would even be willing to pay bonds if the Grand Exchange history went back hundreds of trades, months, or even years, or if they were able to download their entire trade history. Data is valuable. Number 6. Allow people to favorite items, put them into lists, or add notes to them. All things that can make it easy to follow up on them. Number 7. Adding a currency that allows you to store wealth, like platinum tokens in old school RS. You may think spirit charts are fine for this, but they're a bit cumbersome to exchange, and they're also limited to around 53 bill in stored value, which means that anyone who has more is just going to end up buying party ads, ultimately driving those up in the long run. And finally, a pretty weird idea that I don't think they should necessarily do, but it could be a lot of fun. This is to allow players to add messages to their Grand Exchange offers. You could tell the buyer of your Noxious Longbow to take good care of it because you killed a lot of people with it. Or you could tell whoever keeps cutting your prices to stop being a little kid. Or you could have random conversations with people over the Grand Exchange. Could be fun. I have plenty more ideas, but those would actually have an impact on the power merchants have over the economy. I don't think any of the ones I mentioned have any impact really, so I see no reason why they can't be implemented. Let me know in the comments what you think of them, or if you have any awesome ideas of updates Jagex should make for merchants. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all again next week for another video.